All right, hello everyone. We are going to start our process for importing data into R, and there are certainly functions in base R and other packages that allow us to do that, but we're going to stick with working in the tidyverse. And the main package for importing data in the tidyverse is the readr package. And the readr package is going to load up and install when we load the tidyverse. It's one of the core tidyverse packages. So before we get going, let's install all of the core tidyverse packages, and then we'll be ready to go for the rest of this module. And if you want to open up this Colab notebook, there is a link to this notebook in the description of this video. So I would highly encourage you, as always, to interact with this video and open up this notebook and follow along. So the very first thing that I want to do is load up this library. We get a little warning here that says this notebook is in GitHub. We've seen these before. That's no problem. We're going to run this code anyway. I am connecting, loading the tidyverse, and here we can see all of the various core tidyverse packages that were installed with this command. In particular, we now can use any of the functions in dplyr. We could create plots with ggplot2. I'm not going to do any plotting in this module. We could tidy up the data with tidyr is in here. We can work with tibbles. We can work with character strings with stringer. And today we're going to focus on using this readr package. Again, the main point of the readr package is for importing data. And perhaps one of the most universal and common file formats for storing data is what's called a comma-separated file. We're just going to call those CSV files. When we say CSV file, that means comma-separated file. And so in those files, all of our data is stored in plain text, so we can actually read them. They're not like encoded in some weird hexadecimal form. We use the name comma separated. It implies that we're using commas to separate adjacent cell values, and new lines separate the rows in our table. So here are some links to some data sets that we've worked with or we will work with. So if you're curious what they look like, you can actually click on one of these links and see the raw data. And so this is a data set that includes a bunch of information about Spotify songs, the top 100 songs over the past 20 years or so. And the very first row in this CSV file, notice, contains the headers or the column names. The names of each variable is the first row. Then there's a line break. And then the second row is actually our first row of data. And each value in that row is separated by a comma. So that's why we have a comma separated file. Okay. And here is another one that we're going to be working with in this notebook, just to get the concepts across using a much smaller data set. Here's an example of another comma-separated file that we're going to import into R. Headers are in the first row again. We've got each row of data separated by a new line. Everything is plain text, so we can actually read this file, and all of our cells are, each of our values are being separated by commas. Okay, wonderful. So we've got our comma separated files that we're going to work with. We took a look at both of them in their raw form, and the very next stage is going to be importing those files into our R session. So we'll get to that in the very next video. Thanks, everyone.